Good morning and welcome to the Executive Committee of Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes Fire Authority. My name is David Hopkins and I am the Vice Chairman of the Executive Committee. Although members of the public are able to attend and observe in person, following the meeting, a video recording will be uploaded to the authority's YouTube channel. Some of the officers are joining us remotely via Microsoft Teams. In order to facilitate the best possible experience for all those participating in the meeting, and for those who may want to watch the recording of the meeting, can I please ask those participating in the meeting remotely to switch off your microphone and camera when you're not speaking. If remote participants wish to speak during the meeting, please turn on your camera to indicate a wish to respond to a question or to make a comment. The first item of business is the election of chairman. I will now ask Graham Britton to ask for nominations for chairman for 2022-23.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Any nominations for the position of chairman for 22-23?
I nominate Councillor Rouse.
Is there a seconder? Are there any other nominations? There being no other nominations, I can confirm that Councillor Rouse is appointed as the chairman by sign of consent.
And morning, everybody. The next item on the agenda is appointment of vice chairman. So again, I'll ask Graham Britton to ask for nominations.
Thank you, Chairman. Any nominations for the position of vice chairman for 23-23?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Hopkins.
Is there a seconder? Second that. Yep. Are there any other nominations? There being no other nominations, Councillor Hopkins is appointed as the vice chairman for 22-23.
Thank you. Congratulations, Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairman.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is apologies for absence. We had any apologies for absence?
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you very much. So minutes of the last meeting. Are there any questions or comments on accuracy, or are we happy to approve as a quick record the minutes of the meeting on the 23rd of March? Thank you. Matters arising from the previous meeting. Are there any updates on issues or matters from last meeting?
I think officers could give an update on the on-call firefighter recruitment, which was submitted X44. I think Simon Tuffley, who's joining us remotely, will provide input on that.
Hi, Simon.
Good morning, Chairman. Yes, just to give you a quick update on the on-call situation. The team have been working really hard since the last meeting and can report that we have our next intake starting on the 31st of August. So we've got 5 new recruits starting and they are destined for Chesham, West Ashland and Olney. We've just launched the first of 4 awareness evenings, with the first one attracting over 35 people, and that led to 32 of them requesting an application form, which was a big success for the first one. We've got 3 awareness evenings scheduled over July, August and September, with an induction planned for February 2023. We've also introduced 4 have a go evenings across the county, with the first one being a success at Risborough. 8 people attended the first one, which has resulted in either progression to application or a personal development plan to assist those candidates in progressing. We've got 4 recruitment days planned over the next 4 months at Risborough, Aylesbury, Buckingham and Olney. We've also promoted the events through social media. Marketing and communications continue to work on developing the different personas to target the cover that we need to focus on. And we've got 4 new recruitment champions across our stations as well, and they're assisting and promoting the recruitment of on-call firefighters. And those recruitment champions are at Risborough, Aylesbury, Olney and Buckingham, which are our targeted areas. So that was the just a quick update for the committee.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Simon on that?
Good morning, Simon. It's Keith McLean. Having seen that you're coming to the northern patch in my ward and only, are you putting anything to the local phone box magazine? That will be out just before the event on the 2nd of August. You can take it offline if you like to.
Yeah, that's a good question, Councillor McLean. I'm happy to pick that up with you after the meeting. If you're still around, I can speak to you straight away. I'm here today.
That'd be great. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. But I think just on a point around the campaigns, I think it'd be great if we're all making sure we're following the Facebook pages of both the stations, the main fire service and promoting, because there's been some really good stuff on social media recently about the campaigns. Just make sure we play our part in promoting it. Good.
Chairman, I think Nick Osborne wants to give an update on one aspect.
Yeah, sorry, it was just the last part of that particular minute. There was a bit around potential for a firefighters covenant, similar to the Armed Forces covenant. Just for your awareness, there's a new National Fire Chiefs Council strategic group on call recruitment's been set up, and I've been nominated to sit on that group as well. So I'll raise that at the first meeting, which I believe is next month. So I'll pick it up then. So we can close that one.
Great, thank you. So next item on the agenda is disclosure of interests. Are there any interests members need to declare? No. Do we have any item number 7, questions, understanding order SOA7? Have we got any questions?
None, Chairman.
Okay, fantastic. So just before we move on to the substantive items in the budget report, just a few things I just wanted to share with members. So firstly, delighted to say that we were informed this week that the Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes Fire and Rescue Service has achieved the Armed Forces Covenant Gold Award, which is fantastic news. Many congratulations to all the officers and colleagues that have been working on that. Fantastic. And I think we collect the certificate in September. Fantastic. So many congratulations. It's a good point as well to remind members that the next cadet session is on the 21st of July. So great if members could try and get along to that. It really is worth watching. If just let Annalie know if you're able to attend. And then final item, I just wanted to update members on. I've asked officers to pull together for us a performance dashboard that shows us key indicators across things like our recruitment and retention, operational KPIs, financial KPIs, projects, etc. There's been some good progress made on it. We're going to work in July with the lead members to make sure you're comfortable that your areas have got the right measures in there, and then we'll bring it to the first fire authority meeting in September and have that as an ongoing part of the meeting, so we start looking at the overall performance of the service. So we'll update on that in September. Okay, moving on to then item number 8, budget monitoring report, April 2021 to March 2022, provisional outturn. Ashley, I think you're presenting this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies, I couldn't be there in person. So if I could just take you through the monitoring report. Good morning, members. The report in Appendix A sets out the authority's revenue and capital position as at 31st of March 2022, together with the projected outturn position for the financial year. The provisional outturn figure for the year is a net underspend of 225,000. It is recommended that this figure is transferred into the revenue contribution capital reserve in line with the approved medium-term financial plan. There are some significant variances I would like to bring to your attention which have contributed to this overall underspend. In 2021-22, we had a business rates review carried out on all our estates by an external company to confirm if the rates we were paying were correct. Following the completion of the review, a rates rebate was confirmed in the region of £300,000, which has been backdated to 2017. I must stress that this is mainly a one-off saving. Secondly, we have seen a significant underspend in employee costs, predominantly in relation to support staff. This is predominantly due to a delay in recruitment caused by COVID-19 pandemic and generally having difficulties in recruiting staff to specialist roles in the current environment, which has resulted in several posts not being recruited to. Finally, we have also received additional in-year funding in the region of around £350,000 in relation to protection, COVID and local taxation income grants, which were only confirmed in year. These significant variants have all contributed towards the underspend and has resulted in the service not having to use their reserves. If I can now take you to table 3, which provides a breakdown of our COVID-19 spend since March 2020. So in total from the government, we've received government grants in the region of £969,000, of which we've spent we've spent £969,000, of which we received grants of 850k, and they've been funded by central government. So obviously there's an additional cost of around 120k in terms of COVID costs that we've had to cover within our existing budget. Going forward, the likelihood is that we're going to have to manage that within our existing spends, budgets, and we'll monitor that closely. Finally, if I can now take you to the capital section, which is table 5. A key project that has taken place this year and to note is the USAR rig, which was built at Aylesbury Station and is now complete. There is a slippage of 1.5 million, which has been requested and predominantly relates to the delay in the delivery of Red Fleet appliances and the completion of the WAN LAN project. I was going to leave it at that unless there was any other further questions in relation to report.
Thank you, Councillor Washington, you.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to place on record my thanks to the officers for delivering a very good budget outcome for the year. Particularly challenging, we were forecasting a significant use of reserves. That's not happened. To place on thanks my thanks for Councillor David Hopkins for his work as lead member during that year.
I think it's the guy over there.
Good. Any questions on the side from members?
Sorry, can
In
I
which
also
case,
just,
yourself.
sorry, can I also just pass my apologies? I've got other commitments, which means I'm going to have to leave the meeting now. But if there is anything else that comes up afterwards, I'm more than happy to follow up with yourself, Chair.
Thank you. Take it. In which case, question then probably for Mark. Could you just give us a bit of an update on when we're likely to see progress on the West Ashland issue that's outlined in the property portfolio?
Okay, so because we're in public session, I'll be slightly reserved in what I'd say about this, because obviously going through the legal process. We did have a meeting earlier this week with a specialist planner who specialises in going back and reviewing project timelines and quality of technical drawings, etc. Because the issue we've got with the professional services team, the hub, as they were back then, is that we believe the quality and timeliness of the drawings provided was not up to scratch and contributed to additional cost, which we think they should pay for. So we're in the process of doing that analysis and building a case to take through on that. It's going to take a while, but I think it's worth pursuing because it should be in the region of up to £2 million possibly.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I just add that Mark briefed me fully on the blue light and the operational thing, so it's on my risk register to discuss.
Great, thank you. So we're being asked on this item 2, note the provisional outturn forecast, approve that the slippage of 1.514 million on the capital programme to carry forward into 2022-23. That the underspend of 225,000 transferred into the revenue contribution to capital reserve. The delegated authority is given to the Chief Finance Officer to authorise any late changes to the movements and reserves and capital slippage amounts resulting from accounting adjustments needing to be made during the year-end close-down process. And finally, that should any changes to the amounts referred to above be required, then the Chief Finance Officer will report these to members at the next available meeting. Are we all happy to agree those recommendations?
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 9, partnership governance update. This is you, Mark.
Good morning, members. So this paper presents the updated partnership register, which was an action identified in the annual government statement. So within the paper, it identifies new partnerships and also ones that we've removed from the register. There's 2 new partnerships, which I'll just cover briefly. So there's the wonderfully named FRIC, or Fire and Rescue Indemnity Company, which is a pooling arrangement to cover insurance type arrangements. It's a very successful collaboration. The original membership has grown from 9 members to up to now 14, I think. It's an excellent example of collaboration and innovation, and it saved us cost as opposed to doing our traditional insurance arrangements. The second new partnership is around the voice and data, or WAN LAN as it's called. And this is a recent joint venture that we've done to provide our network IT facilities across all our sites. It's in association with Bucks Council, NHS Trust and others as well. So another good example of collaboration there. We've removed 3 partnerships from the register, which are the cross-border arrangements, Fire Service College and Primary Authority Advice. Fire Service College arrangement was badged as a partnership but in essence, it's a commercial arrangement. It was called a partnership because of the way we provide our instructors to the college when we do recruits course in exchange for service credits, but it doesn't form or meet the definition of a true partnership as such. The cross-border arrangements and primary authority scheme arrangements were both removed because they're statutory arrangements rather than partnerships. So cross-border is where we provide mutual aid to other services, for instance, over the border, or they provide assistance to us, for instance, on our patch which they cover. The primary authority advice is where you have a national business, rather than dealing with 44 different fire and rescue services, they can elect to deal with just one fire service to provide them fire safety advice for all their operations nationally. And again, it's not a partnership as such, although we enter into agreements under a statutory framework. So therefore it's been removed from the partnership register. The register was updated by going through our internal governance process through the relevant boards and by relevant officers. So I'm happy to take questions, given the diverse nature of the arrangements. I may have to endeavour to follow up at a later date with some of the questions if they relate to any of the detail of the partnerships.
Thank you. Any questions on partnership?
Thanks, Mark. In terms of the integrated voice and data network, you mentioned as Buckinghamshire Council and Buckinghamshire Healthcare and Insurance and Buckinghamshire CCG. So does that mean Milton Keynes doesn't have any of the health-related interrelationships with this work?
I think, and we might correct me if I'm wrong, I think Milton Keynes is part of a separate arrangement which involved other parties, more to kind of the east and north Keynes region, I think.
Yes, so when we were investigating the project, we had a conversation with Milton Keynes and the partner they used for their wide area network and local area network to assess those, their Buckinghamshire Council and our current provider to go straight to Capita in terms of cost, ease of working, partner relationships, Wax Council, so that's why we ended up going with those people. That doesn't stop any of the other relationships that we have with Milton Keynes Council and the NHS partners that they're carrying on other ways. It just means that from a network perspective, if I was to pick up my service and take it into a Milton Keynes hospital, I wouldn't be able to connect. It doesn't stop us continuing to work with it.
The questions, comments? No, members have to make a report. Yep. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 10, the Emergency Services Mobile Communications Programme. Anne-Marie, I think you're into this. Is that right? Or is it
I'm
Marie?
just going to hand it to Marie.
Good morning, everyone. This paper provides the latest update regarding the Emergency Services Mobile Communications Programme, the ESMCP. I should refer to it now. The last update was provided in November. Following the approval of the ESMCP full business case in July last year, we've been expecting a briefing paper to be released by the programme that could be used to inform stakeholders. This has now been released by the programme and can be seen at Appendix A to this paper. The market investigation referral by the Competition and Markets Authority into the supply of land mobile network services for public safety in Great Britain and the involvement of Motorola in this continues, with a provisional decision report due to be released this month. I had notification yesterday, we're expecting that in the next 2 weeks. The national programme is watching this carefully in order to assess the impact on the dates for delivery of the ESN, or the Emergency Services Network. In my previous report, I informed members of the high-level review of the local user resource model, which forms the basis of the funding support to transition the fire services to the new ESN. Each region is to receive a deep dive visit to look at the way that they've used their funding to date, and the South Central region, which we form part of, took place in May. We've since received assurances that it's felt that the region has robust governance processes in place and that the region has a clear grip on the finances and how claims can be evidenced. Comments have also been made at the recent Fire Customer Group meeting that this is a model to be replicated, and we've been asked to present at a future Fire Customer Group meeting on the approach that we've taken. And finally, the national review of the roles of the NFCC-led regional coordination managers and the programme managers employed by each region and how they could work together in a different way to deliver national work has been completed. And it was agreed that the regional programme manager roles were dispensed with, and that happened at the end of May. with additional delivery manager roles being created within the NFCC team. The South Central region, however, felt that there was still a requirement for a regional resource to collate programme work and take on additional work streams, and so submitted a business case to the deep dive review. This was accepted, and the previous RPM for the South Central region has now taken on the role of Thames Valley Project Manager, working closely with the service project managers. Happy to take any questions.
Right, thank you. Any questions from members?
Well, more of a comment, Chairman, if I may. I mean, this project's going to outlive anybody on this committee, any officer here, and probably many people in this country. It is a case study on how government should never run ICT projects on this scale. However, there are legal implications of what one can say and can't say. I would be interested to know, given your expertise and you're working on this, what's your best estimate as to when this project will be delivered? I'll make a note.
Please don't hold me to this. The airwave contract has been extended to 2026. There's a current relotting process underway and a review of the integrated programme plan. We've been expected we can't work on rolling out the programme until we receive the IPP version 7. We haven't received version 5 yet. Version 7 isn't likely to materialise till early next year. Now that's early next year in ESMCP terms. It could be late next year. We tend to go by seasons in this project now. We don't go by months.
Not decades.
We talk about spring or winter, or so my estimate that it's going to go beyond 2026.
And therefore, just fundamentally, does this delay in any way places our people who work for this authority or the residents of Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes in any form of additional jeopardy above and beyond?
No, because we've got Airwave.
Okay.
Yeah, Airwave is a robust. The ESM will give us additional data capability. We tend to use some data through Airwave. Other services don't do that. But when we moved to our new forum in 2015, we introduced a data capability then. Whilst we've got Airwave, it's a robust network. It just isn't progressing. So it's going to become obsolete. But the actual service, they've done a lot of work to improve the groundwork for Airwave.
Thank you, Chair.
Any questions?
Budget. The bombings. The current system wasn't able to work, and that's why we think there's no greater danger, but obviously our problem is that the residual wasn't fit for the purpose. The only question is, a good proportion is now covered by true 5G, not 4G. By the time the project rolls out in 2026, most places will have some beginnings of 5G network, which is obviously lower latency, better coverage, better transfer of data. And by the time it's rolled out, will they start to say we now need 5G?
There's always that possibility. I think when they started this project, they said it was going to be delivered by 2019. So that's why they have to keep reassessing and relotting and looking at the delivery programme again, because of the
Just help on people. I was at the match last night at MK Dons. Our team were using a volunteer system to coordinate, which is a 4G system bought off the shelf, and communicating with each other with backup near-wave radio off the shelf. And that was able to control traffic and control a big event such as Women's Euros match. And yeah, we're talking about 10 years into this system, you can literally just walk into a shop and buy the system off the shelf. Very strange. That's dangerous.
I can't argue with that.
That's Christensen.
I was just going to correct you on the line. I think Milton Keynes will actually have 6G bulbs.
Just it's a city now. So
I'm glad you recognise that, Chairman. Well,
good.
Not mention it.
Good. Members have to note the update. Good. Thank you. So next we move on to agenda item 11, the Home Office White Paper consultation. I think that Graham, we're going to talk to this first.
Thank you, Chairman. Very briefly, the purpose of this report is to seek approval to the draft responses to the Home Office White Paper consultation, which is set out in Appendix 1. Due to the high level of member involvement and engagement in relation to those responses, I don't propose to take members through the paper in detail. The only thing I would like to mention in terms is the rationale for recommendation 3, because drafter of the report was working to quite a tight timeline. I just thought to give a little bit of headroom if there's any finessing or even typographical errors that need to be picked up in terms of the narrative of the responses. Recommendation 3 is that this committee delegate to the Chief Officer any finessing of the narrative. It's not the actual substance of the responses, but the presentation of the Chairman, the Vice Chairman. Chairman, that's what I propose to talk to in terms of the paper.
Great. I'll just put on record my thanks to you and the Chief Fire Officer for navigating through putting this together and crystallising our disparate and many thoughts on the white paper. It wasn't the easiest task in the world. Councillor Hopkinson, is there anything you want to say?
Just very, very briefly, I would certainly agree with your comments, and thank you to Jason, to Graham for putting this together. There we had a working group meeting. There was a full and frank exchange of views, as they say in political terms, and particularly around question 20. Yes, question 29, which has moved, I think, 4 points along the scale since that full and frank exchange of views, and quite rightly so as well. I would also draw the attention of members to the draft response from the LGA, which is very much along the lines of our response. So I think it is important that we have that degree of continuity across both our representative body and this body. But good work, and hopefully recommendation 3 can be included, and we can submit ASAP.
Good, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Marmot?
On the point of governance, on record, my thanks, Vice Chair, for moving so far. I think not necessarily the content of the sort of. I think we're all agreed that if this is the government direction, then we should. It would be pointless for this authority to try and stand in the way. And now, if I was to know that many authorities sort of say we don't like this, and therefore we're going to make it as hard as possible. That's a very silly position to take. If it's going to happen, then this is the government, whether it may even be the government direction, I'm not sure. Municipal fire reform will be the top of any Prime Minister's list, but we will see. If it is the direction of travel, then it's pointless to fight against it. We should make sure that working with the Police and Fire Commissioner's office, or whatever form of change of governance might occur, to make sure that we continue to deliver a good service. To put on record 2 concerns. One is around what I think the FPU would call sort of like the ability of right to strike and minimum service provision. And I don't think anybody on this authority thinks we provide a huge amount. We don't have a lot of fat in our operational model, and therefore any minimum service provision is likely to be more than the service that we provide on a day-to-day basis anyway. And there is a danger, therefore, that the union may see that particular issue as moving towards a police or medical model of an effective removal of the right to strike. Now, if that's the government's direction, the government should state that, and this authority should be really wary, I think, of sort of getting into a back and forth with the representative bodies on that. And that would be unfortunate. And so some tightening up, I think, maybe of the language around it would be our favourite position to remove people's right to take industrial action. But I think that would be quite helpful. And on the part of additional duties and responsibilities, I think we make a really good point that what are core duties. And I think that's really important, particularly if we're going to merge with the Police and Crime Commissioner, because we've heard reports and we had a meeting before you became chair with the previous chair, with authorities where they've either come out of counties or been merged with big crime commissioners. examples of where the police and crime commissioner have gone to the fire service and said, well, you're on school patrol, you're on school patrol this morning, or you can take part in community speed watch, and obviously that is not a great thing. Well, it might be a great thing if we're given extra capacity to be able to do that, but given it looks like instances of fire and call out have actually at least leveled off, if not rising in the past few years, that would be very difficult. I think, again, underlining the point that I think is really well made, that any additional duties should be negotiated as a change of contract and change of potential conditions, contractual obligations. And within that as well is making sure that any changes come with very clear ring fencing of who is responsible for that service. Obviously, the fire service we just had a question on it actually. Fire service don't sit as of right on ICSs or ICPs, but they may be asked to step into some areas such as, you know, providing trip and fall advice, or areas which cover health, or areas which cover council services, and that would get into a really tricky position. Who is responsible if something happens, or you wouldn't necessarily want to come into a conflict with local authority, but making sure if that happens, there are structures to make sure that local authorities and other public bodies will be collaborating on those services to make sure that they're not either duplicated or they're not in conflict with each other.
Yeah, just to reinforce, I accept all of them points that Councillor Martin just made. Earlier this week, we had a conversation with Chief Executive SCAS, and we talked about this very issue, because actually, in terms of looking at fire and rescue services, in terms of supporting the ambulance service moving forward, one of the points that was specifically made, and well made, by Chief Executive SCAS is clinical governance, for example. Actually, medical clinical governance. There are very, very high safeguards within the medical fields about clinical governance, and any movement in terms of expanding the role, for example, of firefighters even further into them areas, the authority really does need to be really clear about what risk it inherits when it does them things. And I think it's not something you can do overnight. I think there is something that firefighters can do as we support the services moving forward, because they are stretched. But we need to be really, really clear and make sure that them safeguards are in place to safeguard our staff, the community, and also the authority.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, are we therefore happy to agree the recommendations?
Agreed.
Thank you. So agenda item number 12, I've actually already given the update on that at the beginning of the meeting, so won't dwell on that. The date of our next meeting is Wednesday, the 14th of September, 10 AM. I assume it's here.
So it's at the Oculus.
It's at the Oculus. I'm glad I clarified that. Would have been a loaded meeting. Good. On that note, I'll take them. Oh, no, sorry.
No. Head Oculus. I don't want to get him in go Oculus.
I'll put it in.
Reminder in the morning as well. Good. On that basis, no further business. I'll close the meeting. Thank you. Good.